Hi, my name's Steve Cronan. I'm the CEO and founder of Fifth Kind. Today we're going to be going through ROI, how studios increase efficiency, reduce costs, and improve quality of content. So back in 2001, I was the IT and digital asset manager on the Matrix sequels. And during those productions, I got the opportunity to understand how information is captured throughout the production process. And luckily enough, we were actually creating the Animatrix, which was basically like a TV show, and the Enter the Matrix, which was the video game. We also were trying to reuse assets from the previous films. So we had this perfect ecosystem of how all the information was being captured and how it would move throughout the production process. What we're going to look through today is how we looked at the patterns across the production process, how information moved out to studios, out to vendors, licensees, etc. What all the different types of assets, all the different nuances to these workflows, and how we sort of brought them together into a singular solution to bring the maximum ROI, and as we say, maximize your investment in your assets. So if we start off at the beginning of the pre-production process, everything kind of starts with this script. The basis of the story, the structure of what we're going to be essentially building everything off. It's a very heavy creative process up front where we're defining research and defining storyboards and concept art. We're using that information to create previs, which would be a visual effects visualization of what's going to happen. That will go into bidding workflows. We start going out doing location scouting. We're taking all these photos that are all geotagged. We're doing casting, which is sort of reviewing what actors we want to bring on board, looking at their various headshots, looking at various videos, casting videos, etc. We then go heavily into the art department process of set design, set decoration, actual construction. All of these front-end processes come together through a various array of different file types that need to go around and be shared through various tiers of roles throughout the production process. So what we did was we looked at this and we said, this isn't just a casting problem. This isn't just a script management problem. These are just documents and images and videos. How do we sort of look at this holistically across all these different file types and bring everything together? So we then analyze further down the path into the production process. What was happening during the on-set process? What's all the metadata we're capturing, all that frame and lens information, continuity, sound information, video assist is capturing other information. So how do we sort of take that information that we're capturing on set and help feed that down to the tail end of the production process? And as we dive into post-production and we feed this massive marketing beast, how can we more efficiently deliver all of the approved information, all of the right information down into the marketing processes? How can we leverage the metadata which we're capturing during the shooting processes to inform a lot of these post-production decisions? So we looked at this holistically throughout the whole actual production process and said, okay, how do we capture everything? How do we bring everything together? How do we help information move across the production process from the point of creation out to the various coordinators, out to the production executives, out to studio executives, out to vendors, licensees, and back, etc. And then by capturing all of this throughout this process, how do we create a really rich archive so we can reuse assets more efficiently? It's a really sort of disappointing to see how often an archive just becomes a checkbox of writing stuff to a tape and it's thrown off into a cave and never seen again. So we really want to be able to, again, capture everything and maximize our investment. We obviously had all these different departments that needed to collaborate together, and they're all working within different structures. We have art department who are, structuring their information around sets. We have visual effects who are structuring information around sequence and shots. We have production who's structuring around scenes. So they all have various ways that they need to be able to structure and tag their information, but being able to cross-collaborate and communicate with each other. So we looked at ways of using metadata to create these relationships between these different sets of information and trying to unify the way that people could communicate and share. We also had to be aware of a very sort of globally distributed, external, vendor, licensee, partner workflows. So we have a lot of external trailer houses. It could be the post house, cutting various items or doing pulls. It could be marketing pipelines. It could be delivering stuff to the toys, to someone like a Hallmark to make cards. Everything all the way down into we've seen it used for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So a sick child can watch the movie from their hospital bed. A huge array of ways that we need to now move information globally and do that efficiently. So one of the things we're going to touch on today is how we've applied this to Marvel Studios. We've had a unique opportunity with Marvel in that we didn't have these legacy silos. We were able to essentially take a brand new studio and sort of break it down and say, how can we bring some of the New York corporate culture of a bit more long-term thinking and bring that into sort of the more modern studio, and sort of look at this as one problem, and really with security being the heart of everything we did. Number one was security, and then all of the collaboration, distribution, communication, all these other elements sat around this strong heart of security. So our challenge was to reinvent the studio. How do we manage all our globally distributed studios and productions? How do we find a way to preserve assets for future reuse? Again, security with a really important heart of it. Scalability. Being file agnostic, so we no longer have to think about how big is the file, what size is it, or what type or what number of files. Being device agnostic across all your iPhones, iPads, Android, Windows phones, etc. Increase efficiency and maximize your profits. So again, looking at this kind of as a centralized system, we were able to say, let's build a hub and spoke style model where I could have a studio system in LA. I could have distributed systems throughout the production which replicate with each other. Bringing all this information transparently replicated throughout the world. Being able to ingest every single asset type that was generated throughout that process. No longer having to think about what type of codec is it? What bit rate is it? Do they have Photoshop? All these kind of questions. We wanted those questions to go away so they could focus on the creative process. We needed the scalability so that we could handle an infinite number of users across an infinite number of productions. And of course, as we've seen the evolution of film grow, as we increase frame rates, as we increase resolutions, as we added a duplication with stereoscopic, we needed this ability to be able to scale every frame across the studio and scale an unlimited amount of users and partners. Bringing in this kind of question of removing the technical question from the process, we really had a goal to engage creatives. So this was more about, if you wanted to be able to maximize the use of the system, you needed to be able to get creatives to want to engage with the system. And that was really one of these key challenges. It's one thing to build it. It's another thing to make it secure. It's another thing to make it scale. And you got to make it usable enough so that people would want to actually get the information in there. So by bringing in these efficiencies throughout the communication processes, throughout the distribution processes, no longer having to print paper and DVDs, no longer having to go and try and extract information from the production so the executives could actually approve stuff, we were able to move information around the process more fluidly, make sure that we're working on the correct files, and therefore we were maximizing our profits and our investment in all our assets. So as I said, we wanted to make technology transparent so we can ingest, organize, convert all these different formats. We could search for them very easily. We had all our access controls, so we're making sure that only the right people could see the right files at the right time. All the tracking, so we had a full audit trail of who said what and when, who viewed what and when, who shared, who downloaded, etc. All of those communication and approvals, distribution, and archive. So again, just kind of looking at this as a broader approach of just kind of saying, we wanted to invest in a singular system to bring everything together. And in that, we needed to be able to structure millions of files across that studio. We needed really strong metadata controls to be able to do metadata-based access controls, let those status decisions inform archive decisions, be able to essentially understand what was the ripple effect of every decision throughout the process. So what did it mean when something was approved? Who should get access to it? Or if it was flagged as obsolete, how should it be hidden? How do we make sure that each decision is being captured and is then flowed throughout the various departments? Being able to convert all these different file types. We support over 300 image formats, 50 video codecs, a dozen document formats, and really being agnostic to any file type, but trying to visualize as many as possible to take away again that technical question. All those access controls. We've seen so many times. An art department be scared to put assets in a system because they're worried visual effects is going to run off with it before it's approved. So by understanding that, hey, visual effects, you could see everything within VFX, but maybe only approved assets within art department, allowed art department to engage the system in a new way. They felt comfortable to actually get these work in progress assets in there, and that simple decision to flag it as approved would then expose it to visual effects. They could have more accurate bidding processes. They could make sure that the right concept was being passed on to the right shot. And then by capturing all of this, by the time you get to marketing, you have complete understanding of what's actually being approved, why it's being approved. We've even seen value in this as the production switched from one production designer to the other. They had that full understanding of what had been approved or why, and the communication and all of that kind of stuff. So, of course, tracking becomes really important, having that full audit trail. So if something turns up online, you know exactly who's viewed it, downloaded it when. That's bringing in some of the forensic elements or visual watermarking that we apply transparently to the system. So it's another big part of the security elements is just making all these kind of watermarking processes transparent. All the communication and approvals, so you can draw on images and video and use your mic cleave audio notes and thumbs up and thumbs down and swipe it on your mobiles, up and down, that kind of stuff. So by, going through these communication processes and connecting all that communication to the files, this is an evolution that we've gone through from email to FTP servers to Dropbox. Now a more sort of intelligent kind of broader approach to looking at all this information, and that, all of these decisions, all of these comments, all of the feedback and approvals all need to be connected to that file. You should be able to go back decades from now and know exactly what was used, why and when, and the evolution of that asset. And then we have the distribution elements, because at the moment we're still obviously required to push a lot of information out to external vendors and licensees so they can work on the various assets. So there's a lot of watermarking that happens within the system, FTPing, using Aspera for acceleration, all these kind of various things. So again, using things like a Signiant and Aspera for WAN acceleration take away another one of these challenges of how do we handle these big size files across large distances. And then archive, being able to have what we define as a little bit more of an intelligent archive. By capturing so much metadata throughout the whole creative process, we're essentially able to make more intelligent archive decisions so that we can know based on what's approved and what's not, what's in the cut and what's not, all these various pieces of information help define what's on what tier, how close to the interface everything needs to be. And then, of course, open and configurable, which is this ability to have the APIs to glue together this hub. So we have all RESTful APIs in our application, but it's really about everybody having this kind of open approach to their platforms, that we all need to exchange information to each other. We know the production is going to want to pick and choose whatever tool they want. And so we need to give them that flexibility to pick those tools, but be able to communicate with each other in an open and hopefully standardized way. But as we know, that takes some time. So just to give you a couple of use cases, within marketing, we have, various challenges around the huge amount of assets that created throughout this process for, all of the billboards and toys and the huge amount of marketing, mounds of assets that get created. So basically, the information, nothing leaves Marvel without going through executive approval. So the information moving from the point of creation through, say, the production designer, out to a director, out to a studio executive, making sure legal is front-loaded as much as possible, so they're capturing any legal challenges all the way through the process, using those annotations to say we can't use that logo, this particular term is offensive in this language, whatever it may be. So they're using it for a huge array of various legal review processes, and helping executives give that final layer of approval, getting it out to all the toy manufacturers like a Hasbro, like a Hallmark, an Upper Deck, whoever it may be, who are paying good money to use their product. And then, so by implementing a singular solution where an executive can log into a central platform, we're removing this, being bombarded from various sources and various tools, bringing that all into a central hub, having all security built into that process and all that clearance being streamlined. Then we go into, say, the trailer workflow, where every single take that comes from production needs to be watermarked, needs to be distributed out to the trailer house. We need quick turnaround times on that. We need this communication workflow where the information on what's being put in the trailer cut can be fed back to visual effects, because that's going to inform how they're prioritizing their various shots, etc. And so that sales also has really quick access to this information. They can sell, and sometimes they have to raise funds later in the film because they need to do reshoots, whatever it may be. All of these kind of information is quickly and easily accessible. Print challenges, we have, each actor reviews about 30 to 35,000 stills per production. And they need to be able to do that, efficiently. So we built some streamlined mobile tools for that. They have some certain legal obligations that they must approve, say 80% of the images that come through. So they need a nice, efficient way, and that's where we built our kind of swipe up and swipe down approval and rejection kind of features. Really bringing the efficiency to how quickly an actor would want to engage with that system, give their feedback. They could have magazines waiting to publish various photos, etc. But we've even seen actors doing that on set pretty much the same day. The stills photographer is uploading into the system, and the actor can sit there on their iPad and review. So there's a sort of a broader concept we want to bring to this. This is the idea of this real-time production. We want to make decisions more quickly, more efficiently. We have the technologies to do this. They're all out there. It's kind of fine-tuning the legacy workflows that we have to sort of bring this all together. So we've even seen issues where we've seen multiple systems that are making different decisions. So if one system's saying, okay, this is the images we want to publish to this magazine, and the actor's saying, this is the photos I like and dislike, we've actually done some analysis of cross-correlating those and finding that a lot of times 30 to 40% of the photos they've published, the actor's actually rejected. So it's by having multiple separate systems, you're just increasing the complexity, you're increasing the points of failure, and really it's, you can try and integrate everything together and hope that you have many pieces in the ecosystem that are all efficiently communicating, or you can try and centralize these key kind of workflows into a central system and have various other systems sitting around that, which are all performing different roles. So we have, and then at the tail end, of course, this big archive challenge. This is some significant savings we see here. Say, for example, on the Avengers, Marvel saved $400,000 in reuse of assets. Typically, they've been able to quantify in hard costs at least $1 million of production they save. And so this kind of reuse thing crosses beyond just the creative assets. And I think we've seen throughout productions a lot of resistance to this idea of reusing assets from a previous production. But I think sometimes we're forgetting it could be a panning shot of New York, it could be a LiDAR scan of a fighter jet, it could be a 3D model of a character. Especially in franchise films, as we're seeing more popular in more recent years, that reuse of these elements, production, become more valuable. But we're also seeing cross productions. That LiDAR scan of a fighter jet can be used pretty much anywhere. So this ability to create a long-term element library becomes extremely powerful for a studio. And so far, the only studio we really see do that really well is Marvel. And but this idea of bringing all of these decisions through one place throughout the studio, production, publishing process. Bring all the elements together, all your flames and smokes and gun pops, all your various decisions are just going to essentially make this whole process more efficient. So the overall benefits, eliminating the needless physical distribution of production materials, DVDs, saving thousands of dollars production there. Hundreds of man hours, whether it be dragging and dropping an FTP, watermarking, files, accidentally working on the wrong files, not knowing, which one's the approved one that we're working on right now. Oops, it's the wrong one in the cut, or we sent the wrong file to the VFX vendor. All of these distribution elements, they're all saving tens of thousands of dollars per production independently. Having that secure central repository to help maximize your reuse of assets, maximize your investment in your assets. Streamlining the review process, so you're not having to think of, where am I viewing this asset today? It's not like, hey, I go here for scripts and I go here for casting and I go here for dailies and I go here for whatever else. There's one central hub that people can go to, and that's a broader part of our story, is having that hub that everyone knows this is where I go to view my assets. Reinventing the actor approval process and helping streamline the whole marketing communication pipelines between the point of creation, production, studio, etc. Being able to do this real-time syncing of information so that a user can be informed as soon as something's available, have these quick turnaround times, have the ability to be able to be out location scouting and leaving feedback on a piece of concept art, walking off set, giving some feedback, and then by the time you've walked into the office, you've got a new version of that asset. We're really seeing a higher turnover of shots, a higher turnover of versions, because people are just communicating more efficiently. And then, of course, bringing these APIs together so that systems can communicate more efficiently with each other, and reducing the man hours of moving stuff from your on-set systems into your studio systems, out to the vendors, etc. All the security, the mitigation and loss, and as we've seen in recent times, this goes far beyond just the creative assets. I think we've seen that the potential damages caused by security issues are many-fold over just the leak of creative content. So there's a lot of legal documents, and it's not like we're getting to the personal stuff, but there's a much bigger role much bigger challenge to solving this bigger studio challenge. But we're a significant piece of that puzzle, and can help block down anything that's ever been ingested into our system. Helping with distribution, even with like airlines, we help push information out to various airlines, having the EAA login to rate the movie, etc. Having that ability to expire, so we've seen the ability to share a script for 24 hours and lose access is a really powerful way to sell the script to an actor or an investor. The overall efficiencies of having more efficient production meetings, faster decision making, more accurate execution, quicker review, faster turnaround times, and a faster time to market. Like I said, we're just seeing a much higher turnover of versions. And at the tail end, there's this broader story to ROI, which is there's a lot of inefficiency that happens, but everyone's working hard. They need to do what they need to do to get the job done. They're working with whatever tool they know or are aware of to get this done. They don't have a lot of technical support during the production process. So there's a lot of inefficiencies that come from that. But we know that these people are taking risks every day. And we need the studios and the productions and everybody to work together to help solve this challenge. And thank you very much. Any questions?
I'm gonna just look at this real quick.
All right. So, Steve, like in the more is the amount of effort. I was going to ask about the distribution of effort in terms of newer implementations. Is it more around, because you've already established the data models and and the asset management system for the most part? And is it now mostly about customizing workflows, and how much are the workflows varying, say, from one production to the other? And is that easily accommodated in the system, or how does that?
Great question. So it is interesting that, now we've done over $4,500 million tent poles. We've had enough opportunity to analyze the patterns across these things, and especially as, the onset process has evolved. That's primarily where we've seen the shift is, technology kind of making its way onto set and kind of having this ripple effect. And the studios tend to have a little bit more eye and influence on what's happening there. There's not a lot of attention to kind of all the processes that sit around that. How does, even just ramping up a production. To give you a bit of an interesting example, when I started on the Matrix sequels, everyone had a phone line and a dial-up modem. And the way you would share files is you would dial your dial-up and I would dial my dial-up and would email it to each other. And so that's the kind of interesting world you walk into when people need to get it done, and they will glue two sticks together if that's the way it needs to be done. So we've seen a little bit of an evolution of people learning what technologies are out there. Obviously, people will tend to lean towards consumer products that are out there to get these various things done. We're seeing a drastic increase in the amount of metadata that's being captured on set. But for the most part, we've found a very common pattern between these. Whether you've got these different frame rates or the rest of it, we're all generating frames, we're all generating metadata. We all just need these images, videos, documents, 3D models, etc., shared, collaborated on, communicated on, distributed, etc. So we're not having to actually do a lot of customization on a per production basis. It's really getting to the point now where we've built enough tools to cover enough of the broad strokes of what everybody needs to do, that we've done this code review, and we've got all these kind of security pizzas in there, and the legal docs are ready to go, and we've built that trust. And we've, in the early years, we were having resistance from people wanting to use a system at all. That was the challenge. People knew how to do it. They just wanted to do it their way. They didn't want to change. But as we've seen the increase in digital tools on set, we've seen this ability to be a little bit more open-minded and, to a certain degree, not have a choice anymore. So I think it's just having that support to try and break down some of those walls where we've really seen the shift. But for the most part, it's becoming pretty unified across these productions. So.
All right. I guess if we don't have any other questions, thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you very much.